The wrestling world is buzzing with accusations that Triple H has been caught in a web of deception that could unravel his entire legacy. Documents are surfacing, former employees are speaking out, and the evidence keeps piling up in ways that cannot be ignored anymore. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what we are about to reveal will change how you see one of wrestling's most powerful figures forever. Promises were made to wrestlers about their positions in the company that never materialized once contracts were signed. Multiple performers have come forward saying they were told they would be featured prominently, only to find themselves barely appearing on television after committing their careers to WWE. These are not just rumors or hearsquitutions anymore. Actual text messages and email chains are being leaked showing completely different stories being told to talent versus what executives were planning internally. The level of dishonesty is staggering when you see it laid out in black and white. One of the biggest revelations involves creative plans that were supposedly locked in stone. Wrestlers were assured their storylines would play out over months with championship opportunities waiting at the end. They turned down offers from other companies based on these guarantees. Then suddenly everything changed without warning or explanation. Those promised title shots never happened. Those multi-month narratives got dropped after 2 weeks. When talent asked what happened to the plans they were sold on, they got vague non-answers or were told business circumstances changed. But leaked meeting notes show those plans were never real to begin with. The treatment of released talent has exposed another layer of questionable behavior. Before letting people go, management made them sign new agreements with specific clauses about what they could and could not say publicly. In exchange, they were promised certain benefits and considerations for future opportunities. Several released wrestlers have now revealed those promises were completely hollow. The benefits never came through. The future opportunities never materialized. They were essentially silenced with false assurances while the company protected itself from criticism. Backstage, there are stories about how different the public persona is from the private reality. In interviews and press conferences, Triple H talks about respecting the talent and creating opportunities for everyone willing to work hard. Behind closed doors, according to people who were in those rooms, the attitude is completely different. Decisions get made based on personal preferences rather than merit. People who speak up about problems get labeled as difficult and find themselves phased out. The open door policy that gets promoted to the media does not actually exist when you try to walk through that door with a legitimate concern. Financial promises are another area where the truth seems to be very different from what was communicated. Independent contractors were told about bonus structures and revenue sharing opportunities that sounded incredible when presented. They restructured their entire financial planning around these expected payments. Tax season came around and those bonuses were either far smaller than indicated or had so many conditions attached that they became impossible to actually receive. When people pointed out the discrepancy between what was promised and what was delivered, they were told they misunderstood or that circumstances beyond anyone's control changed the situation. The handling of medical issues has brought some of the most disturbing revelations to light. Wrestlers were told they could take time off to heal properly without any consequences to their position or push. They trusted this assurance and took the necessary time for surgeries and recovery. Upon returning, they discovered their spots had been given away permanently. Storylines they were promised to return to had been rewritten around other people. When they brought up what they were told before leaving, suddenly nobody remembered those conversations or could produce any documentation of those commitments. Creative pitches from the wrestlers themselves represent another broken promise situation. Performers were encouraged to come up with their own ideas and present them in meetings. They were told the best ideas would be used regardless of who pitched them. Talented people spent hours developing concepts and presentations. Those ideas then appeared on television with different performers and no credit or acknowledgement given to who actually created them. When the original creators asked about this, they were told their ideas were not used and what appeared on screen was completely different even when it was obviously the same concept. Diversity initiatives and opportunities for underrepresented groups were announced with great fanfare. Public statements were made about commitment to change and creating pathways for talent from all backgrounds. Behind the scenes, the actual implementation tells a very different story. Hiring practices remained largely unchanged. Opportunities continued going to the same types of performers. When internal voices pointed out the gap between the public messaging and private reality, those voices were quietly pushed out rather than the practices being actually reformed. Relationships with other companies and independent wrestlers reveal more inconsistencies. Public statements suggest WWE is open to working with the independent scene and respects what those performers bring to the table. Privately, there are non-compete clauses, restrictions on outside bookings, and demands that make it nearly impossible for talent to maintain their independent identity. Wrestlers are told one thing in negotiations, then discover completely different restrictions once the contract is signed and they are locked in. The NXT brand was promoted as a place where the focus would be on wrestling quality and developing the best possible talent regardless of their look or background. Parents were told their children would be in good hands learning the craft properly. Then overnight the entire philosophy changed. People who were brought in under one set of promises found themselves in a completely different system with different priorities. The developmental approach they were sold on vanished and was replaced with something entirely different without any warning. Veteran wrestlers who were brought back for special appearances or short-term deals were given assurances about how they would be used and what their role would be in helping younger talent. They came in with those expectations only to be used in ways that contradicted everything they were told. Their experience and knowledge was ignored rather than utilized. They left feeling deceived about why they were really brought in. International talent was recruited with specific promises about opportunities and how their unique styles would be showcased. They uprooted their entire lives and moved across the world based on these commitments. Once they arrived, the reality was completely different from what was described. Their styles were not showcased but rather suppressed. The opportunities they were promised never came. They found themselves stuck in a foreign country with a contract that prevented them from going elsewhere. The evidence keeps mounting from too many different sources to dismiss as disgruntled former employees or people with axes to grind. Text messages, emails, recorded conversations, and documentation from dozens of different people all point to a pattern of saying whatever is necessary to get what is wanted without any intention of following through. The trust that should exist between management and talent has been shattered by these revelations, and rebuilding it will require acknowledgement and real change. Subscribe now to stay informed as this situation continues developing, because more people are coming forward every single day with their own experiences.